So I want to come on here today and just welcome you. First of all, I hope you're having a really, really good day. And I want to talk a little bit about overcoming limiting beliefs. It's been on my mind lately, it's been my focus lately. And it's because limiting beliefs can develop just from trauma. Limiting beliefs can develop from something really, really small that happens to us, or it could be something huge. It's not always something that's huge, but it could be. The point is that the limiting belief is what's messing a lot of us up. And so, to define it, a limiting belief is a state of mind or a belief about yourself that restricts you in some kind of way. Usually, the belief is a false accusation that you make about yourself, and it can cause a number of negative effects and results. And that is so deep. And as I've just been making content, as I've coached others, as I'm just growing and I'm learning, I'm realizing that the root of a lot of the issues that I was having was in these limiting beliefs that I had about myself. And I realized they started, it could have been something as innocent as I was in the second grade and I had my hand raised and I wasn't chosen to answer the question. And from that, I start telling myself, well, maybe it's not because I was as smart as Susie. Or maybe it's not because I had to answer like Bob, right? And then I start shrinking back. I don't raise my hand the next time, although I may be confident in my answer or in my ability, right? I may know the answer. And then remember the last time when I had my hand raised and I wasn't chosen. It starts to plant that seed of doubt. It starts to just keep you down. It starts to just continue to make you feel like you can't do something. It seems small, but all seeds are small. Things start off small. Plants start off as a small seed and it gets planted and then it blooms. And so this has just been so heavy on my mind because it has been my work. It's been the work of my life to uproot and overcome limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs that may have been spoken over me by others. It may not have been intentional, right? Sometimes adults that are over us just were having a moment. You could have been in the third or fourth grade. You could have been a teenager and they just human too. And they could have just said something. They got planted in your mind and in your heart. And then you ingested. And now it has developed or devolved into this limiting belief about you and yourself. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years later, you may still hold this belief about yourself, all based on, right, a small seed that was planted. And so I just want to remind you that you can overcome limiting beliefs. You do have to do the work. You have to start plucking it out, uprooting it. You have to start affirming yourself and just using all the tools you can to get that limiting belief out of your heart, out of your mind, out of your spirit, out of your vocabulary, which has been a huge one for me, right? Vocabulary, what we're even saying over ourselves is extremely, extremely important, right? And I'm coming from a place of understanding what rejection truly is, understanding what it feels like. I mean, true, actual rejection. I've shared a piece of my story where I was born and abandoned in a hospital when I was born. And so I was raised, adopted, and didn't know my birth family for most of my life. And so I had like internalized rejection, right? Over time that started devolving into limiting beliefs until I overcame it. I had to do the work. I had to uproot the thoughts. I had to just speak to it. I had to reclaim my narrative, right? And that's a big, huge one. It's the reclamation of narrative or rewriting the story that we are telling ourselves, because that's where the limiting belief is, right? And what we are telling ourselves. And so I want to share that you can overcome limiting beliefs. You may have to take it one limiting belief at a time. You may not even realize you have the limiting belief. You may have to ask a friend, What area do you hear me speaking about myself negatively in, right? Somebody might have to give you feedback because we are so used to ourselves and so used to saying certain things. I can tell right now if I say something like one of my friends get silent or they'll cringe or my husband will kind of, and I'm like, what? Maybe my husband will be like, I don't know if you should say that. And then I, in the past, was defensive and was like, well, I could say it. Well, but maybe I don't need to say it. May maybe I'm reinforcing the limiting belief that I have over myself. So I need to watch even what I'm speaking, but what you're speaking is flowing from your heart because out of the heart flows the issues of our lives. And so what you're speaking is flowing from somewhere, which is why I'm saying you have to uproot and really deal with limiting beliefs. And why I'm talking about limiting beliefs like a seed that got planted, not just some random act. It ain't random. Okay. It really is something that got planted in your mind, in your heart, in your spirit about yourself that is still negatively impacting you because you have not taken the time to uproot it, to rewrite the narrative about it, right? You've not taken the time to do that. So now when we hear you speak, you like, well, I don't know if I can do such and such. And somebody could say, well, why not? Why can't you? I just can't. You don't even have a reason. You don't have a reason why you can't because it may be tied to this limiting belief that you just have planted in your own spirit about yourself. And I've been there. And on the outside, you can look like you're fine, but it's still things that you want to accomplish that you know you have not accomplished, right? Areas that you want to overcome that you know deep in your spirit and in your heart. And when you lie down at night, that you have not overcome. And it's all going back to these limiting beliefs and these doubts you have about yourself and about your own abilities. Rooted in the past, rooted in a time where somebody might not have even meant to say that thing to you, right? They didn't mean to even plant that seed. Even if they did, it's your job to uproot it. And so that limiting belief, again, it can be overcome, but you have to do the work. It's going to take someone else telling you, hey, yeah, right there, you talk about yourself bad, or right there, you want to go after it, but I see you not going after it. And they may have to help you with that. They may have to tell you that. You may have to ask because people may not volunteer to tell you, especially it can be touchy. And so often it's easier to do it with someone like a coach, like a friend. It's a little harder to do it with the fam, because, it's familiarity there. But it could be, I've had the most success with a coach, which is why I coach. Because often when you come to a coach, they're seeing you right now. They see you right now for who you are. And then they can see and hear the limiting beliefs because you may speak them, but they can also see that picture of where you've outlined that you want to go. They don't know your full history. They don't know your full past. You're not little Kim from blah blah blah, such and such child. That's not how they see you. And it's refreshing in a lot of ways. I talk about this sometimes because I moved from where I grew up 13 hours away. And it's been refreshing in that way because it's like a fresh slate in a way. Now you got social media, people can still know you. The world is still like less than 6 degrees of separation. It's probably 2 or 3 degrees of separation. But again, it's still different people, right? A coach is still someone who wasn't there to see your whole childhood, teenage years, blah, blah, blah. A coach is someone who can just see you with a fresh, clear perspective. And so I definitely want to encourage you that you can overcome those limiting beliefs. It takes work, but it can be done. You pluck them up one seed, one root, one limiting belief at a time, and you develop the ability to believe in yourself. You develop and work on confidence. It's not just a given. I don't care what you think, I don't care what you see on social media, okay? Because social media will have us all like, well, they straight, it's me, it's only me. No, everyone has an area that they've had to build up or that they are building up within themselves or about themselves. And so I just want you to be definitely encouraged. Know you can overcome limiting beliefs. You can change those into self-confidence. It's something that you work on. It's something that you can do the work for. It's something that you uproot, right? But it can and it will be done if that is what you want, right? You have to want it. No one can uproot the limiting belief for you. Again, it's a belief or a false accusation that you make about yourself. And that's deep. That's so deep because things happen to us, and then we could be left making these false accusations about ourselves. We didn't even do the thing. The thing was done to us, but now we like, well, I don't know. I'm not X, Y, and Z. And so definitely be encouraged. I just wanted to come on here with a quick message. I wanted to encourage you and just so you can overcome all the beliefs. Have a good